Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Cutting Edge Figure Skating Podcast. My name is Kim Dunaway, and in this episode, I will be recapping the pairs event at the 2024 Grand Prix de France. The event here was won by Minerva Hassi and Nikita Volodin of Germany, and they are undefeated in Grand Prix. They won both of their Grand Prix events last season and the Grand Prix final, and they won again here. Won both the short program and the free skate. In the short program, everything was clean, very nice throw, triple loop. What's interesting about them is their short program scores are lower than what we see from Mura and Kihara and from Deanna and Max. And it was the same case last season. It took a really long time for them to get to 70 points, which is that really nice threshold that you want to see kind of in pairs, with the top pairs inching over 75 and getting closer to 80. With Minerva and Nikita, they have really struggled in the short program, specifically with getting really high numbers in their short program, which I think is very interesting because a lot of people are picking them to win worlds this season, which I think is very premature because if I'm going to put my money on somebody, I'm going to put my money on the Japanese pair of Miura and Kihara winning their second Grand Prix, second world title this season. And not that I'm by any sense counting out Deanna and Max, but I just feel like top to bottom, they're the best pair team in the world. And if they go out and skate their best, I don't think that any of these teams are going to beat them. So Minerva and Nikita got 73.72 in their short program. We saw Mira and Kihara get 77 at Skate America. And Deanna and Max got a 73 last week for what wasn't a perfectly clean program for them. They had that little issue on the triple loop. So to me, it looks as if, and of course, again, it's always difficult to compare scores from one Grand Prix to the other. You have different judging panels, but it does look as if they are kind of team number 3 if you're going to kind of look at what the trend is with scoring for them, even when they have skated well and skated clean. In their free skate, I was a huge fan of this free skate when I saw it at Nebelhorn. It was clean. It was very, very well done. Interesting thing I learned after I recorded that episode was that they had to change their free skate music 2 days before the event. It's unclear exactly what happened because all of the skaters this season are supposed to run their music through a clearinghouse with the hopes, I think, for all of us that this is going to prevent some of the copyright issues that has occurred and has prevented videos from being able to be on YouTube and for us in the US on Peacock for very long periods of time. Who knows if this is going to help that or not. But in any sense, don't exactly know what happened with their free skate music. And then 2 days before the event, they had to change it. I couldn't tell at all because I didn't know it at the time until after that they had even changed the free skate music. I thought the free skate music was like really wow. They used like Max Richter's version of the Four Seasons. It was really powerful. Well, now they've gone back to a different cut. Obviously, this was what I guess they preferred to use versus what they use in Nebelhorn. So to me, it's a lot more boring because the beginning of it is just like the standard Vivaldi version. It doesn't have quite the dramatic pop to it that the music that they used at Nebelhorn did. There was lots of talk at Nebelhorn about how they had one of their throws on this silent part of the music, and it was just very effective because a lot of times you'll see throws maybe on the crescendo of the music, which is also effective. And so I was watching this one and I was like, the throw and the silence is gone. And I don't know, it just wasn't as exciting as it was for me at Nebelhorn. It's still a great program. The end is still very, very strong and very, very impactful. But for me, the first 2 minutes of the program just aren't as exciting without the more dramatic version of the Four Seasons music. And so if you haven't seen the Nebelhorn version, I encourage you to see if you can find it just to get a little bit different take on it. But obviously this is what they wanted and this is what they're using. And so, okay, it's fine. That last lift that they have that really sort of ends the program just kind of feels like it goes on forever. And I love a really good long lift. The only issue that they had in the program was that he put his hand down on their side by side, their triple sows. Everything else was very clean. Their 3-drop combo of the triple toe, double axle was very clean. It's a good program. I'm just not as excited as I was before. Maybe also because I've seen Mura and Kihara's a second time out also, and Deanna and Max a second time too. But even so, they are certainly in the mix. I would put them in that top 3 teams. They're reigning world bronze medalist, expected to win here, and they did exactly that and quite easily. In second place was Conti and Michi of Italy, and they have started off this season a lot stronger than what we saw of them last year. Last year, it just seemed like they could never really get it together. The twist at this competition, at the next competition, it's the side by side. At the next competition, it's the throws. They were just very inconsistent in a lot of their different elements all season. And they basically said they felt a lot of pressure last season. So they look a lot more comfortable so far here. And at their earlier challenger, they won Lombardia over Mura and Kihara back in September. So their short program, to me, is the stronger vehicle of their 2 programs. It is to Carmen. I love that they use the beats of the music, no errors, really fantastic performance from them. Their free skate, I thought, had the best twist that we've seen out of them in a while. It's been something that they've been struggling with for quite a bit and something that they have been working on a lot, they say. He stepped out of the throw triple sow, so like Hasi and Bolodan, they also had just that one issue on the side-by-side jump in the same one. It's a good free skate in terms of how they perform the elements. For me, it is extremely boring. It is like, to Papa, can you hear me? Every single program of theirs, it feels like, is some kind of tribute to somebody. And so this one is supposed to be a tribute to her father and his grandfather, which I'm sure is very personal for them. And but it doesn't really translate to the audience, in my opinion. I felt the same way with their short program last year, which was like supposed to be to some kind of music from somebody's parents' wedding or something. They ended up going back to an old program because I don't know if it just because it wasn't going well or if because it wasn't well received. I thought that one was really boring too. And frankly, outside of this Carmen short program they have, I feel like a lot of their programs have been kind of boring. Of the Italian pairs, they have the biggest ceiling, but they just don't have the best material. But it was great to see them come out here and put themselves in a position to perhaps make it back to Grand Prix final for a 3rd season in a row. And they did win the silver medal at Grand Prix final last year. And really, that was their best competition last year. In 3rd place was Rebecca Gilardi and Filippo Ambrosini. And they had to come from behind. They were in 6th after the short program did not have a good short program. They stopped trying to do side-by-side triples in the short program last year, which I thought that was very smart because it, for one thing, it wasn't going well. Rebecca really struggles with the side-by-side jump elements, especially the side-by-side triple sow. So they started doing side-by-side double axles, which helped them in the short program because oftentimes they would be very far in the standings. They'd have a great long program and they'd be coming from behind. However, in this short program, Filippo fell on said double axle, and that was a huge issue for them in their score. And so there they find themselves in 6th. They also was very forward on the throw triple flip, which also did not help them out in the standings either. So frankly, I did not expect them to medal here because it required them to skate well, but it also required the teams ahead of them to have some pretty sizable mistakes, which is exactly what happened in their free skate. They have gone back to their Dracula program. So when they were at Lombardia, they did a program to Phantom of the Opera, which I can't remember too terribly much, except that I was like, well, they're hitting all the war horses this season, doing the Tango Roxanne in the short program and doing Phantom of the Opera in the free skate. But I was like, they typically do whatever they do very well. So I was fine with it. So they came here and started doing Dracula, and I was like, okay, why did they go back to Dracula? It's supposed to be retooled and reimagined. They're calling it Dracula 2.0. That's what Mark said anyway. I couldn't really tell what they've changed. I feel like this Brody and Somerville's program, I need to go back and probably after the Grand Prix and look at those programs side by side and see what if has really changed. But for me, it was not nearly as impactful as it was last season. Like, I really liked this program a lot. It was really high on my season's best list. I want to say it was third behind both the Deanne and Max's programs. I could be wrong, but it was definitely in the top five. I liked it a lot. They are trying to do like a new costume for her, and they've got more of a Dracula look for him. It didn't help that they had issues off the bat. So she has been much improved on the triple sow cows in practice. I've seen practice footage of her doing triple sows from over the summer. According to Mark, she was landing triple sows in practice sessions before the event. But here it was just kind of the same song, same thing, different day. Fell again on the triple sow. They are supposed to do a double axle, single axle combo, which I don't love because at times it's really, really messy for them. And here they just did a single axles, and on that second jump instead of a double axles, which affected the base value, which at the end of the day, they still made it onto the podium. But it just kind of, for me, the program just started very flat. They did land a good third triple flip, which was nice, but the third triple loop was very forward. And I've always really enjoyed the fact that they put their throws at the end of the program because I feel like it makes the program really exciting. But when the beginning was so very flat, and then one of the throws wasn't to the quality that they can do, the whole program for me just did not have the impact that it has had in the past. Frankly, it kind of looked like they were performing a new program, but the program didn't itself look new. So, I don't know. They're helped by the fact that Bakari and Garizi are clearly dealing with some type of an injury, so they have withdrawn from both of their Grand Prix. We did get a chance to see Bakari and Garizi at Shanghai Trophy. They do have two new programs. They're okay. They're not amazing. It's better than the Cats program last year was. I think the short program, if I remember correctly, is Romeo and Juliet, which is fine. So they're going to have some momentum. And even though their point total here is not impressive, a bronze medal is a bronze medal. And I think ultimately that will help them with their case to make the world team. I think Team Italy is probably going to go with whoever performs the best at Europeans, most likely, which is going to give Bakari and Garizi a chance, provided that they're healthy and ready to go by then. But I still have a lot of confidence in Rebecca and Filippo. They're still a really fun team that I really enjoy watching. But it is frustrating that they had some of the same mistakes that they've been having at this event. But lucky for them, they were the best of a pretty messy field. So in fourth place was the American team of Alicia Efimova and Misha Mitrofanov. They were very close to getting on the podium here for a second time in this Grand Prix. They were hot off the bronze medal at Skate America. Started off the short program better than what we saw at Skate America. She landed the triple toe that she doubled in the short program there, hung on to the throw triple loop. They're a little off sync in the side by side spins, but I really love the positions that they hit there. I love their step sequence. The last minute of the program is just really, really strong. So they were just micro points behind Leah and Trent going into the free skate. They have a much better free skate and a much bigger upside. And so I thought they had a really good chance to make it onto the podium. And they started off well in their long program with the twist, side by side, triple Salchow, double axle combo, and then she doubled the triple toe. And I really love the choreography that they have going into the triple loop, but then she fell on it. And then they went into a group 5 lift that they had to abort. It looked like there was an issue with the hand placement, like trying to secure her into the position. And it just couldn't get it there, and it had to come down. And in a lift, you've got to either carry the person or you've got to do 3 revolutions in order for the lift to count. And they did neither of those, so they lose the lift completely. They got 8.6 points on that lift at Skate America. And so that was a huge loss for them. So even with the mistake on the side-by-side triple toe and with the fall on one of the throws, they were behind Rebecca and Filippo by 5 points. So if they had gotten that lift up, they definitely would have gotten the bronze medal here. So I know they were incredibly disappointed about that. After the event, they said that maybe the timing of it was off a little bit. That probably doesn't happen very much for them, but it does happen at times. It can happen to anybody. That's why these lifts are worth 7 points. The group 5 lifts, that with the lasso or the reverse group 5, those are the ones that have the highest point value. And so it sucks for them, but a 4th place finish here isn't terrible. And they are expecting to get another assignment before nationals. So I think likely would be Golden Spin. I think at this point, the Warsaw Cup entries have already been announced. In fact, I know they've already been announced. So I think that's probably the most likely place that they would go. That's oftentimes that last challenger that we get in December around the same time as Grand Prix final. So a lot of times countries will put several skaters there that might be in Grand Prix final. And if they make Grand Prix final, obviously they'll withdraw them and put somebody else there. So that's kind of what I'm thinking they might be. We'll see. In 5th place was Leah Piera and Trent Michaud of Canada. And their programs this year, they have said they're trying to show the judges a different side of them. I have questions about that. Or is it because they're trying to figure out what the judges like? Or is it because they feel like they've given the judges kind of the same similar vibe? Because they've only been together for 2 years. Like, we don't have a whole portfolio of programs from this team. Not saying that they don't need to try new things, because they definitely do. But I don't like either of these programs. I didn't like either of them when I saw them at their challenger. I think I like them less here, especially the free skate. Let's talk about the short program first, because they were in 3rd after the short program. They're doing a throw triple Salchow instead of a throw triple loop, because even though it's not worth as many points, it's a much more successful throw for them. So I think it was a good move. It seemed like once they went to the throw loop in the short program last year, it's just not gone well. So they did have a much better outing here, technically. Like I said, artistically, I'm still not sold on this sing style for them. And the free skate, it's a tango program, which again, we've got a lot of tangos this year. I don't like this style for them. I just really don't like this program. I feel like there were times last year with their short program, before they changed the music and made it weird, that Leah could really shine. And I'm like, this girl is a star. And I don't feel like either of these programs You can see that. You do a tango program, they don't have any chemistry. It doesn't work. And then it really doesn't work when they have so many mistakes. So on their side by side, they're supposed to do triple toe, double axel, double axel. He singled axles on both of those, so lost base value. Then they go into side by side triple salchows. Then she doubles, lost base value. And then they fell on both rows, the loop and the salchow. There's really no build to the program. They use two different pieces of tango music. It's kind of a similar issue that I had with Selevko's free skate, where he uses three different pieces. Like for them, they get very cliche tango music, and then they bring in the Por una Cabiza music, like the True Lies and the Sin of a Woman tango music. I say that because those are the movies where they use this piece of music. So sometimes if you're like, when I reel out the name of a tango piece, you're like, that means nothing to me. But if I tell you True Lies, you're probably like, oh yes, I know exactly what tango piece you're talking about. It just, I'm just incredibly frustrated because I felt like this team had an enormous amount of potential in the half season that we saw them 2 years ago. And I feel like every time they come out, they have just somehow regressed. I'm just not seeing any real progress with this team. I'm not seeing any progression in their technical elements and their connection with each other. And it's just disappointing. And it was obviously disappointing for them. They won this event last year. And here they were in a medal position and they ended up fifth. So definitely not what they wanted. Be very difficult for them to make it back to the Grand Prix final again with a fifth place finish here. I feel like we're kind of at the point we've got to kind of regroup a little bit. Like what can we salvage? What can we bring out of these programs? Do we need to move some things around? I don't know, because they technically, especially with the side by side elements, they should be one of the strongest teams in the world, and they always find a way to make a mistake somewhere. And I don't know what has happened with the throws, but they have just become incredibly inconsistent for them. And their lifts have never been a real strong point for them. So if the technical elements are not there, they're just in real trouble. All right, moving on to the sixth place team. That was the Uzbeks of Ganesh and Chigarev, who are representing Uzbekistan. Russian skaters, skated for Russia just a couple of seasons ago. And they were second place last week. And so they had an opportunity to show up well here and make it to Grand Prix final. And things just didn't go so well for them here. And it's tough to make it, two programs back to back, especially when they don't have any real experience competing internationally. They've just competed domestically in Russia. Their short program, technical elements, very good. I think the concept is interesting. I thought overall it was better here than it was at Skate Canada. My only real nitpick is that the synchronization in their side-by-side spins could be better. I could say that about a lot of teams. But overall, I thought it was a good performance. The long program, though, was a real struggle. She popped the triple toe to a single toe, still managed to get the double axel off, but lost a lot there. Very costly. They do side-by-side triple loops, which he was a little bit shaky, but frankly, I was impressed. I think anytime a pair team does something other than a salchow and a toe, it's exciting. But she fell on both of their throws. They do a flip and a loop. They got a V on their pair spin last week, and they got a V on their pair spin here. I get it. Back to back, there's not a lot of chance to really work on some of these, but they should have some time now between now and I can't imagine there's a national championships in Uzbekistan, but maybe there is. I think we'll see this team likely the next time at Europeans, unless they've got another challenger somewhere. They're another team. I don't love their programs, especially the free skate. I'm not really sure that it's a good match for them stylistically. But again, I'm still learning about this team and sort of figuring out what they're good at. I can see elements at times, like with their twist, for instance, of like Russian pairs. And then at other times I'm kind of confused. So we'll see. In seventh place was the Kovalevs. It's not a brother and sister pair. This is a husband and wife team, Camille and Pavel. You would probably not believe that this team was second at Grand Prix France 2 seasons ago and that they actually beat Hakan Kunkel and Gilardi and Ambrosini. It feels like a lifetime ago that happened. It feels like a fluke, honestly. And I think it kind of was. I will say there were some things about this team that was vastly improved over what we saw of them last year. They've really had a lot of injury problems the last couple of seasons, and that has understandably hindered their training. For me, the biggest issue with this team is I'm always extremely puzzled by their choice of music and their choice of costumes. In the short program, they were skating to Britney Spears' Toxic. I think was it the actual Britney Spears version or was it a cover? Like, I think it was the actual version. Either way it goes, it was odd. 2 years ago, they were doing Billie Eilish with very weird costumes. Last year, they were doing some really strange, it was like The Feeling Begins and some other song. Made no sense. Their short program choices are very odd. Their costumes here were very bright, lime green. I don't know. I don't. They never make sense to me. But speaking of their program, she had a hand down both on the side by side triple toe and on the throw. So they were down in the standings, probably about where we expected them to be, honestly. And their free skate, they're repeating their James Bond program from last year. It was better in some places. For instance, they actually landed side by side triple toes, which was very exciting. They did a triple toe, double toe, single axle combo, which I don't like. Like, if you're new to the channel and new to the podcast, you've probably missed some of my rants on the pair side by side single axles. I'll save you the rant. I'm not a fan. I think they're ugly. But even so, I suppose it's worth the 1 point that people get for putting it on, tacking it on to the end of a combo, even though it looks tacky most of the time. But moving on, they did land the throw triple lutz also, which I thought, oh, very exciting. Then they go into this choreography sequence. She's doing a knee slide and she falls over. And it was like, really? That's so characteristic of what they kind of do. It's just like, even when they're doing a semi better performance than normal, there's just like a fluke fall in there somewhere. And so, that was that. I think they also landed the throw sow, which was great. I mean, some of the elements were there. They just need new choreographers and new costume designers, and a stroke of luck with their injuries for sure. In eighth place here was a new team that, at least new to most of us, Fala and Bell, new to the Grand Prix. They're a host pick from France. They, to me, especially in this short program, looked very, very nervous. Low catch on their twist, had a fall on the side-by-side triple and the step out of the throw. But the lift, the spiral, and the step sequence was all fine. In the free skate, the twist was better than it was in the short program. Didn't have any really impressive side-by-side jumps. Did a double toe, single axle combo. They did have side-by-side triple sows, but she just did a single and then also fell on their throw loop. The sow cow, at least she stayed on her feet. So I think it was a good experience for this team. It was nice to see another team from France, and they are supposed to be in another challenger here soon, and hopefully this was a good experience for them and something that they can build on. So that completes the pairs event. feel like there's not a lot of great contenders for a Pamchenko award. So basically, it kind of boils down to Hossie and Boladin's short program, Conti and Mashi's short program, or Efimova Mitrofanov. I think I'm going to give it to Alicia Efimova because she did land a triple toe in the short and a triple Salchow in the free skate, which I've wondered why they do the triple toe in the short program, because it seems like she's like the triple sow was better for her. But I feel like I talked about this at Skate America. It probably changes every week. But even so, she landed 2 different triple jumps in the same competition, and that's very exciting. We've just got to get them in the same program. That's the next step. So I'm going to give it to Alicia Efimova. All right, let's look at the Grand Prix standings for pairs. So Alicia Efimova and Misha Mitrofanov with a 3rd and a 4th place currently lead with 20 points. That is likely not to hold up, but they're currently leading the pack. Then we've got 3 teams that have all won their events. That's Mura and Kihara, Hossie and Boladin, and Stellato and Deschamps, if I can talk, all with 15 points, and definitely are expected to all make Grand Prix final if they just show up to their next Grand Prix. Then we've got Conti and Mishi and Cam and O'Shea, who all have 13 points. Technically, Ganesh and Chigarev also have 13 points, but they have competed in both of their Grand Prix already. They didn't get any points for a 6th place finish here. So that 13 points is not going to hold up. And then we've got 2 bronze medal finishers with 11 points, and that's Golubeva and Giotopoulos, Moore, and Gilardi and Ambrosini. So those are kind of your contenders to make it to Grand Prix final so far. NHK Trophy is coming up this weekend, and here is our roster. We've got Anastasia Vaughn-Law and Luke Digby. We saw them at Skate America. We also saw Anastasia Meltikina and Luca Barava at Skate America. Also, definitely looking to rebound from what was a disappointing 4th place finish for them there. Hawk and Kunkel will be here. They also are looking to rebound for a disappointing 4th place finish at Skate Canada. The favorites, Mira and Kihara of Japan, who will be at home. We have another Japanese pair team, which is very exciting. Nagaoka and Moriguchi. They were at NHK also last year. Got Danilova and Nasiba, who we saw last week in Canada. And then 2 American teams, Ellie Cam and Danny O'Shea, and Isabel Martins and Ryan Bedard, who were a replacement for Bakari and Garizi, who were originally slated to compete here. Martins and Bedard were the host pick for Skate America last season, so they have been in a Grand Prix before, but it's a great opportunity for them. They usually have pretty nice side-by-side jumps, and I'm looking to see how they've improved since Nationals last season. So Mira and Kihara definitely come in as the favorites, and the podium contenders are going to be Meltikina and Buralava, Hawk and Kunkel, and then Cam and O'Shea. Cam and O'Shea come in with an opportunity if they can get a silver medal or better of qualifying for the Grand Prix final. They could probably also get in with a bronze, but they definitely need to make it on the podium for a second time. And if Hawk and Kunkel or Meltikina and Buralava have any hope of getting into the Grand Prix final, they really need to win here, which is going to be a tough, tall order, but second place at worst. So should be a good competition, at least at the top. And I would love to see Anastasia and Luke have another really good competition here like they had at Skate America. I've been playing that Carry You music like everywhere, and that they use in their free skate. I've had multiple people in my yoga classes and in my private yoga sessions ask me what is that song? I love that song. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for listening to this episode for the pairs. The pairs episodes are always the episodes that are usually the least watched and least listened to. And even on Twitter, on Reddit, on Golden Skate forums, there's not as much buzz about pairs or as much talk during the competition about pairs as it is with the other 3 disciplines. And it's always sad for me. It's one of the whole reasons I started the podcast was because I feel like there wasn't enough attention put on pairs and some of the other media outlets. So I'm always going to continue to cover pairs and share my love for pairs, even though I can definitely see that a lot of skating fans don't connect to it for whatever reason. But if you love pairs too, please let me know. We can share our love of pairs together. You can find me on all the socials at Ice Skate Podcast. And you can also send me a line at thecuttingedgepod@gmail.com. Thank you guys so much for listening. I hope you have a good rest of your week.